Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
Oh, wow. I was not expecting that. Thanks for being here today for the HR department education. I know several of you, but for those who I do not know or I've never had a conversation with, my name is Mailyn Jeffries. I'm the Human Resources Director, and we're going to go ahead and dive right in. So, I want to start off talking about what is human resources. I think most people assume they know what HR is. If I'm out and about in the world and someone asks me what I do for a living and I tell them I'm an HR professional, they'll be like, "Oh, so you hire and fire people." And I'm like, "Eh, kind of. That's a function of HR, but that really is not what we do." Also, I've had people say, "So you're responsible for employee files." And I'm like, if that's all we had to do, life would be a lot easier if all we did was maintain employee files. Now, I will give people a benefit of the doubt. HR as a profession has grown tremendously in probably the last 10 to 20 years. We did used to be considered the personnel department, the only administrative functions, a lot of record keeping. So, hopefully, through this, you learn more about what HR is doing here at Greene County and then as a profession. So, if you go out to Google and you even try to search what does HR do, what's a good definition from HR, I actually don't agree a lot with what Google has put out there. And that is because the definitions or the explanations do not really encompass everything that HR does. And so this is kind of a cobbled together explanation plus some of my own twists. So I have the HR as a function of an organization responsible for planning, directing, and managing programs and services. And I know I added in that affect employees at every stage of employment. We have the opportunity to interact with pre hires, new hires, people in the middle of their career at the county, people separating from employment, people after they've left the county. So we're probably the only department that would interact with people at every level. And then we also have the unique responsibility of empowering employees and protecting companies. That is a function of HR. And we work very hard to make sure those coexist and they don't, go head to head at one another. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. So the Greene County HR department, they're up around here. We have 6 team members that we support 1,150 plus employees. That number is pretty fluid. It changes pay period to pay period, but we're right around 1,150 employees. If we're in a seasonal, if it's during the summer, we might have more. And then as population continues to grow, we'll probably get closer to that 1,200 mark. But you have myself, right over here. We have Amanda Corcoran. She's our assistant director. She's been with the county for almost 17 years. We have 2 senior HR specialists, Cami and Taylor. Give a little wave. I think they've respectively been here 8 and 7, 9 and 8 years, something like that. Uh, Janice, our recruitment coordinator, she just celebrated her 3-year work anniversary. And then HR assistant Donna Prince, she's the newest team member. She's been here for about 2 months, but has 15 to 20 years in HR experience. So the reason I share that with you is not only do you have an HR team who their professional background is in HR, you also have many years of service at Greene County, which is great for our employees. We also have a mission statement within the HR department. This is something that the HR team crafted together many years ago through a strategic planning session. And they're not just words that we have, we incorporate it into everything we do. So it's part of the interview process. We ask candidates about it, what part resonates with them. When I do one on one meetings with the staff, I'm asking them to tell me how they've contributed to the mission statement as of late. We have it hung on our desktops. We just want to make sure that it's not a sentence that we came up with and forgot about. So we want to support Greene County employees by providing dedicated service. And what that means for us is if you call our office, we're going to get you the information. We're going to help you. We're going to get you an answer. Does that mean you won't always like the answer? No. Sometimes there's policies, sometimes there's rules in place, especially if it comes to health insurance, but we will help you. Quality programs, which also includes service. We don't just want to have events and programs and services just to have them. We have to make sure they're actually valuable to our employees and rethink those sometimes. Start new ones, get rid of ones that are not effective. And then commitment to progress is huge for us. as an HR team, we have to work with the county commission, our department heads, our elected officials to move us forward, to make the county a great place to work, to make it sought after for people to want to come here. So we actually live by this every day. And so I thought it was very important to share it with all of you. So let's talk about what HR actually does. And I will tell you, the slides do not cover everything, just as if you had to come up here and talk about every single thing you do in your role or every single thing your department does. It's kind of hard to get all of that in, but I did try to group under large headings what we do in our office. So, recruitment. We manage the countywide applicant tracking system. That might mean nothing to you, but if you apply for a job pretty much anywhere in this day and age, it's an online submission. And that goes to a software program that the company controls where we can review all the candidates, schedule interviews, make notes about them, share them with managers. It's a platform for managing the recruitment process. So our office manages that countywide for all of our departments. And then we facilitate the recruitment, selection, and pre employment process for all of the commission departments. So if it's a department that is under the commissioner's purview, and then some of our elected officials use us as well. For example, we always participate in the recruitment process for the assessor's office. So what that looks like is screening candidates, interviewing candidates, scheduling all the interviews, doing reference checks, doing background checks, helping select who the best candidate is for that role. Very all encompassing. And then we attend job fairs as well out in the community. For onboarding, we have a Greene Greetings orientation process that we've really developed more over, say, the last 5 years. That is almost every single Monday at 8:30 a.m. It actually blew someone's mind when I was telling them the other day that we pretty much have orientation every single week at the county. I think there's a few Mondays a year where we don't have one. But aside from that, we have new hires every single week. Hello. Ranging from one person in the orientation to 6 or 7, just depending. And then we're processing all that new hire paperwork that we're responsible for that comes along with that. And then our sheriff's office does their orientation on Tuesday mornings, and we kind of start the process over again. So onboarding is ongoing for us. It is a weekly adventure. Group benefits has an asterisk next to it, and I will tell you why. Because putting a sentence that says we have the complete administration of all the group insurance benefits cannot remotely capture what we have to do for group benefits. I could spend an entire presentation talking about insurance. I would bore you all to tears. But the reason it is, oh, look, I have a random letter in there. The reason that it's very complex, as you know, insurance is difficult for people to understand. The it changes, laws change. We work in it day in and day out, and sometimes we are confused by group benefits. So we completely understand that employees are confused by it. So that we have one person dedicated to it, which is Taylor, but it really takes the whole team. And Amanda and myself, we spend a lot of time administering group benefits. The wellness program, for those who did not know, it is called Venture. And I should have made that a trivia question. And so we do, as you know, we do lunch and learns. We plan and coordinate all those to get the speakers. We do wellness challenges. We've had really great participation in some of those team walking challenges the last few years. I think we probably have another one coming up soon. And then we have that annual wellness expo, which always has really great attendance. Work comp. I could also spend an entire presentation with Cami talking about work comp. What a lot of people do not realize about workers' compensation, it's managed at the states, but work comp is a statutory benefit and right that employees get. So it's not, we even if we didn't want to, which we would, but even if we didn't want to, you have to administer workers' compensation to your employees. We have a very thorough and successful work comp program here managed by Cami. If you've ever worked with her through an injury, you know that. So we manage all those claims, meaning we work with the employee from the step that they get injured at work all the way through their treatment and medical care, all the way to the end. Some employees get settlements and all sorts of things out of it. And then it includes the safety and injury prevention for work comp. Family medical leave, that's FMLA, and ADA, which is disability accommodations. Cami did a great presentation on that. Was that just a few months ago, or am I way off on my timelines? I think it was in 2024. She did a really great job, so I won't cover that again, but we once again are responsible for the complete administration of that. So if you have an employee that needs to be off for having a baby, or their spouse is having a baby, or they have their own serious illness, they're having surgery, they have a parent, spouse, or child having a surgery, illness, whatever it might be, we coordinate all of that with them. And we're also involved in most of the disability accommodations at the county, meaning if an employee needs a resource or they need something additional because they have a physical or mental disability in order to successfully complete their job, we work through that with them. That's one side of what we do. Here's the next one. Policy management is everybody's favorite thing. So we do maintain the countywide personnel policy manual, of course. We steer the policy review group. We actually have a group that has about 8 or 9 different departments represented on it. We get together, we discuss the policy revisions that need to be made. What policies do we need to take out, put in place to better serve our employees? And then, of course, all those recommendations get taken to the county commission because they have the final authority over the policies. Grievances is the formal term I'm using. We do accept formal grievances from employees. Sometimes that warrants some sort of investigation process. And then we're going to work with managers, department heads, and elected officials on a resolution. I say formal because we do get those, but the majority of what we're doing is very informal process, especially in my role. Spend a lot of time talking with employees or managers about a workplace issue, or just spitballing ideas on how to improve something, working towards resolutions between the employees and the supervisors. Not everything is a formalized, full blown out grievance process. We have those sometimes, but a lot of what we do is kind of that informal day to day resolution with people. We're overseeing employee programs, so tuition reimbursement, the referral incentives. So if you refer someone to come work for us and we hire them, you get a $500 incentive. Food Truck Thursday. Woohoo! We just threw that out into the realm several years ago and decided we were going to start doing it. And it's probably one of the most well received things that we do. I can tell you, I'm not responsible for it, no, nor have I ever been the one to book all the food trucks. So, applause to the staff that has. It's a lot more work than people think it is. Contacting those vendors, scheduling them. We have to get their health department certificates on files. I mean, we want to make sure that we're serving good food that's been inspected. Sometimes those type of vendors are hard to communicate with, or hard to get a hold of. So it's quite the undertaking, and that's one reason why we take a break during the winter. But you guys love it, and so we will keep bringing that program to campus. Compliance is, I should have had an asterisk next to that because it is huge for what we do in the HR department. Every single HR professional, every one of our team members is responsible for not just possessing knowledge of numerous state and federal employment laws, actually knowing the in and outs of them and how they work. I tried to do a quick Google search on how many employment laws do HR professionals have to know and understand. Couldn't even find a all-inclusive list. I found one list that was like the top 40 employment laws you should know. And as I started going through it, I was like, this is missing, this is missing, this is missing. So we probably have to have working knowledge of 50, 60, 75, I don't even know, employment laws. And then not only do we have to understand them, we have to be able to educate managers on them. Because if there's ever some sort of litigation or issue, ignorance is not a defense, and the courts will not be welcome to, I didn't know that. So we have to make sure that we understand twofold. The employees need to know their rights, and they need to know their guaranteed rights under all these laws. So we make sure we know them so that our employees know their rights. And then we make sure that the county is remaining compliant with all these laws. I could do a whole much longer than 30-minute delve into employment laws if you're ever super interested, but there are a lot of them, and each role has different laws that apply to what they do. So there's a lot there. Payroll, you know that that's broken apart between human resources and the county clerk's office, and I'll talk about the clerk's office in just a moment. But the our responsibility are what I call the personnel action changes. So there is a form called a personnel status form that someone in each department or office fills out and submits to us in payroll to initiate making changes in the payroll system. So new hires, transfers, terminations, pay increases, changes to a position, account changes, it's endless. We maintain the countywide position information in Eden. Means nothing to you, but it's a big responsibility. We every role, every position that we has data associated with it. You know, what account is it paid out of? What's pay grade is it tied to? What status is it? What EEO status is it? All of these things are contained within Eden and we manage that. And it's very important for the auditor's office, for the budget office, and for the county commission. So that might be, you know, information that our employees don't see on a day-to-day basis, but it's very important to maintain it accurately. We also maintain the county grade and step table. You know, every year when the commission, when we're lucky enough that they award us a nice COLA, we go in and apply that. There's actually a lot of manual entry associated with some of these things that people don't realize. One project that we undertake every year that blows people's mind when we tell them, when you're awarded a step increase, the HR department is manually entering every single step increase for every single eligible employee. So I think we're probably, thank you. I think we're up to about 800 to 900 step increases a year that we divide it out and we get them entered and we do a lot of auditing and then we do a dance and hope that it's all correct. So whenever there's an error, we apologize over ourselves. But then when we explain to people that it was all manually entered, they're like, "Oh, kidding. We forgive you. You can fix it now." And then we do have an administrative umbrella. So some of the things we're doing, verifications of employment. That would be maybe when a new employer reaches out to us and we provide some sort of reference check. We prefer for those to go through the HR department and not through the departments themselves. But more so, what we're doing, and you don't realize this, but anytime somebody applies for some sort of loan, so a home loan, a personal loan through a financial institution, they reach out to the employer because they have to verify that you actually work where you say you worked and they need to verify your earnings. And so, depending on the loan, depending on the financial institution, it could be a very simple one page form we fill out, or we're running reports and providing oodles of data and answering questions sometimes that we don't even have the answer to. So, we do a lot of those throughout the year. Address changes, that seems so silly to mention, but we get address changes from employees. We got to update them in the payroll and benefit system. I think we get one a day, if not multiple a day, tons per week. And then, especially around this time of year when people are like, oh my gosh, I haven't updated my address. I'm in my W 2. They're like filtering in. Previous employees are calling saying, I realize I didn't update my address. So that's actually very administrative data entry, but it's a lot. What'd you say you did 20 something last week? 25 last week. So people are always moving or realizing they did not update their address. I don't know which one it is. Unemployment. This is interesting to people. A lot of individuals do not realize that when someone goes out and applies for unemployment, their previous employer gets notified. And it could even be where the second or third previous employer, depending on how long they've worked for a new employer. And they tell you that because if the employee did not leave on the best of terms, you have the option to say, we protest this benefit because we're responsible for paying out the unemployment benefits. So many people do not realize that. I think maybe they think it's a state fund that pays for it. We know some people pay an unemployment payroll tax that pays for it, but those come to us. So we have to work through that with the departments. And then we have exit interviews. Anytime an employee separates, we've converted that now into a survey monkey so that people kind of feel more comfortable giving that feedback, but we also send those out. Those only come directly through me. I get the responses to all of them. I read them. When there's constructive feedback, I work with the departments. And if there's something they mention that might be a bit of an issue, or I think it could potentially be an issue, I also work with the departments to resolve some of those things they share with us. All right, looking at some numbers just to give you an idea, these are ones that were easy to pull. So in the year 2024, we had 159 workers' compensation claims and 93 family medical leave cases. So what you can't see behind the numbers is all the work that goes along with that, especially if it's a claim that results in the employee having to have medical treatment. And, some of the medical treatments are one and done. They get stitches in their finger and they move on. Some people have to have surgeries and therapies and things that go on for months, sometimes years. So we're working on all of that with them. And then sometimes we have, a lot of the medical leave cases will be straightforward, or sometimes they're not, or we're working with doctors that don't give us the information that we need, or they don't provide us the paperwork. So there's a lot of background into administering those programs. Recruitment, dear Janice and maybe a few other team members participated in 112 interviews last year. So that could be, multiple people per one position, but 112 is a lot. And what I can tell you about recruitment is it ebbs and flows. It's like everybody has interviews and they're recruiting at the same exact time. If we could just like disperse it somehow, but that's not how it works. I think career events was 8, and that's when we go out into the community. So a couple times a quarter, I say we, it's really Janice, is spending half a day to a day out at, colleges, high schools, adult career fairs, sharing information about the county on everybody's behalf. Payroll, those personnel action changes I talked about, we processed 894 of those last year. If you did the math, it's like averages out to 30 something a pay period, but that's not really accurate because there could be a pay period where we have to do 60 and there could be one where we do 10. It just depends on what's going on in our offices and departments. We also have to enter in payroll changes for specifically related to group benefits. So getting into the system and entering what benefit selections people have made, doing benefit deduction analysis, figuring out amounts. Sometimes people owe us money, all sorts of things. So 1,084 of those were done last year by Taylor. And then specifically during open enrollment, that 2-week period where employees are allowed to make changes for the next plan year, immediately following that, we had 266. So open enrollment's a very busy time for our office. And then administrative, just to give you an idea on some things, those verifications of employment, we did 175 of those last year. The majority of those being from those financial institutions. And then, of course, the public student loan forgiveness verifications, we do all of those as well. And then the referral incentives, we had 69 come through, and we actually hired 43 of those individuals. I just wanted to share that because that's a really good ratio to the amount of referrals we're getting for the people that we're hiring. And then one note as a reminder, here at the county, a unique function is the county clerk's team. They are responsible for our retirement pensions and your traditional payroll processing. So if you have SURF and loggers questions, we're going to ask you to reach out to the county clerk's office, Sandra and her team. Or, a lot of times employees reach out directly to us to ask about their W-4s and their direct deposits and those type of things. And just a reminder, we're going to send you to the county clerk's office. I think sometimes people think we're just trying not to help them, but we're just sending it to the department who oversees that process. And I think that wraps up the HR department education. Wow. Thank you very much. And do you have any questions?
Question on the referral bonus. You said that you manage it. So does that mean that you're tracking the status of the referee and making sure that the bonus is awarded to whoever made the referral?
Yep.
Or does the payroll person for that department?
We track it and we notify the payroll rep for that department when the person's been hired, and then we issue and say this has been approved and here's the paycheck, so they'll be paid out on all of that good jazz. Good question. What else? Somebody has to have a burning HR question. No?
Question, but it's
yes,
not burning.
That's okay.
How do you make the decision on which jobs to post on the Facebook?
Oh, that's a great. We actually do all of them. So we create graphics for them, but then we funnel it through the PIO. So Robert Yaley, for every single job, we make the graphic, we send it to them. They take care of the timing and when everything gets posted. So good question, though. See, that is a function that I didn't even mention that we take care of. That would be an example. What else? You guys feel thoroughly educated about HR then? All right. Well, thanks for coming then. Have a great day.